same-sex marriage and adoption.
Are gays and lesbians underrepresented in political office in the United States?
At last count, only 6 people have ever served in the House of Representatives who have been openly gay, and only 2 of those were elected as openly gay. There has never been an openly gay senator or cabinet member, or certainly president. And only about 1% of the state's legislatures are gay.
So how does the lack of participation or representation in government positions undermine the political power of gay men and lesbians?
There are members of the United States Senate who in public speeches have compared same-sex marriages to marrying a box turtle. Senator Coburn has gone on record saying that the gay and lesbian agenda is the greatest threat to the freedom in the United States today. And a senator from South Carolina said that gays and lesbians shouldn't be allowed to teach in the public schools. It's difficult to imagine an elected official saying such a thing about really almost any other citizen group. Now, that's not the fringe. That's the United States senator. And as a consequence, it legitimizes some of these deeply hostile beliefs.
I don't want to draw people's criticism. In fact, quite the opposite. I would really like people to like me. I would. So since I know I have this trait that I can't change, that people don't like, I go to great lengths to develop other traits that people will like. So I put a significant amount of time and energy into being, well, likable. So that when discriminatory things happen, maybe I can turn it around. The decision every day to come out or not at work, at home, at PTA, at music, at soccer, it's exhausting. If, for example, I'm on a plane and somebody comes up and I've saved a seat for Sandy, but she's not there yet, and they say, "Is that saved?" And I say, "Yes, it's for my partner." And they say, "Oh, well then could you please move so I could sit there?" Or if we're at a store and people want to know if we're sisters or cousins or friends, and I have to decide every day if I want to come out everywhere I go and take the chance that somebody will have a hostile reaction, or just go there and buy the microwave we went there to buy without having to go through all that again.
Let me throw in a question here. Assume I agree with you that the state's interest in marriage is essentially procreative. How does permitting same-sex marriages impair or adversely affect that interest?
Your Honor, that gets to the fundamental disagreement there. They say that it's not enough for opposite-sex unions to further and advance these vital state interests, that we have to prove that including same-sex unions into the definition of marriage would actually harm those purposes and interests. That is not equal protection concept.
I am asking you to tell me how it would harm opposite-sex marriages.
All right.
All right? Let's play on the same playing field for once, okay?
Your Honor, my answer is I don't know. I don't know.
Does that mean if this is not determined to be subject to rational basis review, you lose?
No, Your Honor.
Just haven't figured out how you're going to win on that basis yet.
Your Honor, by saying that the state and its electorate are entitled, when dealing with radical proposals for change, to move with caution. Keep in mind, this same-sex marriage is a very recent innovation. Its implications of a social and cultural nature, not to mention its impact on marriage over time, can't possibly be known.
So this is a political question, and the court should abstain? Is that it?
Same-sex marriage. Have you really thought about it?
What it means when gay marriage conflicts with our religious freedoms.
Why it was forced on us by San Francisco judges when gay domestic partners already have the same legal rights.
What it means when our children are taught about it in school.
Have you thought about what same-sex marriage means?
To me?
Think about it. Voting yes restores traditional marriage. Yes on Proposition 8.
I was in traffic in Los Angeles, and that's like having coffee with someone in the car next to you. You deal with sitting next to this person over and over again for miles. And I noticed that this person had a Yes on 8 campaign sticker on their bumper. And I thought, I want to see who this person is. And I pulled up, and I looked over, and I got a very distinctive what look back. And I said, I just disagree with your bumper sticker. She said, well, marriage is not for you people anyway. And I thought, God, do I have a gay flag on my car? Like how does she even know I'm gay? And normally I think I'm pretty good about being able to come back with, something to support myself. But I was in shock. And I remember it was a yellow bumper sticker, and it had an image that looked like a parent and a child connected, because Protect the Children was a big part of their campaign. But when I think of protecting your children, you protect them from people who will perpetrate crimes against them. You protect yourself from things that can harm you physically, emotionally. And the insinuation that I would be a part of that category, that my getting married to Jeff is going to harm some child somewhere, it's so damning and it's so angering, because if you put my nieces and nephews on the stand right now, I'd be the cool uncle. And to think that you had to protect someone from me, from Jeff, from our friends, and from our community, there's no recovering from that. And unless you've experienced that moment, regardless of how proud you are, you feel ashamed. It rocks your world.
I'm willing to acknowledge that there are plenty of good Californians that voted for Proposition 8 because they are not, well, let's say they are uncomfortable with gay people. They're uncomfortable with gay people entering into marriage, and they're uncomfortable with the very idea that gay people are just like us. But they didn't hear, and too bad they couldn't have seen the evidence in this trial. The Supreme Court has said that marriage is the most important relation in life. It is the foundation of society. It is essential to the orderly pursuit of happiness. It is a right of privacy older than the Bill of Rights and older than all of our political parties, a right of intimacy to the degree of being sacred. There are 14 Supreme Court decisions that talk about the right of marriage, and the testimony of all these expert witnesses and the testimony of the plaintiffs. That erects an insurmountable barrier to the proponents of this proposition. It will not hurt Californians. It will benefit Californians. But as long as it doesn't hurt Californians to get rid of a handful, or let's say a harmful stigma in their Constitution that's labeling people into classes, then it's unconstitutional. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Olson. We have come to lunchtime, and Mr. Cooper, you were up at 1 o'clock, and I look forward to hearing from you at that time.
It's not discrimination. It's not discrimination to treat different things differently. I have a message for our good friends who don't agree with us. The 52% of Californians who came together across lines of race and creed and color to protect marriage as the union of husband and wife are not haters. There is rather powerful evidence that human beings are a two-sex species, designed for sexual rather than asexual reproduction. If this is true, then the absence of desire for the opposite sex represents, at a minimum, a sexual dysfunction.
Spencer, aren't you hungry?
No, not really. I can't miss practice again and still start on Friday.
Yeah, and I have a test. 3 tests, actually.
How long do we have to be here?
At its deepest level, this thing called marriage stands for the reality that our bodies have meaning, that it's not an accident, that we are born male and female, that the deepest yearnings of our hearts and even our bodies have a purpose. A baby, as you know, is God's opinion that the world should go on. It is not a creature of government, something invented and reinvented for the latest fad.
But I mean, they're not really doing anything in there. They're just providing lots and lots of dense evidence. I mean, I just hear it and I'm like, okay, who cares?
You know, I thought it was interesting personally, but their side, they're so
Subpar, Spencer.
Subpar. That's the perfect word. Thank you, Elliot.
And it's nothing we don't know already, so why are we here?
What are activist judges proposing to do? To redefine what the word husband means, to redefine what the word wife means, to redefine what the word parent means, so that no longer has these deep roots in the natural order.
Hey, we'll get tapas at Fana's on our way home. How about that?
Whatever. We'll just get takeout and walk home.
Oh, your moms, huh? It's the special kind of torture to be like at a restaurant with your moms, right?
It's not that bad. I think you're interesting, Sandy.
Just one more night and we'll be back to normal.
And you'll be really, really bored again, I promise.
So what is this thing called same-sex marriage? I'll tell you what it is. It amounts to a vast social experiment on children. And rewriting the basic rules of marriage puts all children, not just the children in unisex unions, at risk. And that's the real truth. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cooper, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The New York Court of Appeals observed in 2006 that until quite recently it was an accepted truth for almost everyone who lived in a society in which marriage existed that there could be marriages only between participants of different sex. So the first question is, why has marriage been so universally defined by virtually all societies at all times in human history as an exclusively opposite-sex institution? It is because marriage serves a societal purpose that is equally ubiquitous, a purpose that makes marriage fundamental to the very existence and survival of the human race. And the historical record leaves no doubt that the central purpose of marriage in virtually all societies and at all times has been to channel potentially procreative sexual relations into enduring, stable unions to increase the likelihood that any offspring will be raised by a man and woman who brought them into the world. Mr. Olson often quotes the Supreme Court's statement that marriage creates the most important relation in life. That quote comes from the Maynard case, and the Maynard court explained why the institution of marriage is uniquely imbued with public interest.
Do people get married to benefit the community?
Your Honor?
When one enters into a marriage, you don't say, oh boy, I'm going to be able to benefit society by getting married. What you think of is, I'm going to get a life partner.
Yes, Your Honor.
Somebody that I can share my life with, maybe have children. But all sorts of things come out of a marriage.
Yeah, but if you...
But is this the purpose of marriage for individuals to benefit society?
Well, it may well be that individuals who get married aren't doing it in order to benefit the community, although that is the ultimate result of it. But the question has to be, well, why does the government regulate this relationship?
That's a good question. Why doesn't it leave it entirely up to private contract?
It is because this relationship is crucial to the public interest, because, Your Honor, the procreative sexual relation is an enormous benefit to society, and it represents a very real threat to society's interests.
A threat?
A threat. A threat in the sense that to whatever extent children are born into the world without this stable, enduring marital unit and raised by both of the parents that brought them into this world, then a host of very, very negative social implications arise.
But the state doesn't withhold the right to marriage to people who are unable to produce children of their own. Are you suggesting that the state should?
No. No, Your Honor, no. It is by no means a necessary condition or a necessary requirement.
Well, then the state must have some interest, wholly apart from procreation.
Your Honor, it isn't a necessary requirement that the state actually insist that individuals who get married have children or be able to have children. How would it go about administering such a requirement? It would have to have premarital fertility testing, some kind of premarital pledge in which the couple found to be fertile, some kind of intrusive process, also pledged to actually have children. Your Honor, these kinds of Orwellian.
It is Orwellian. But isn't that the logic that flows from the premise that marriage is about procreation?
It is enough if the state or the society seeks to attempt to ensure and increase the likelihood. Really, that's what it boils down to. Increase the likelihood that naturally procreative sexual relationships will take place in an enduring and stable family environment for the sake of raising children.
Isn't the state indifferent with respect to how the child was conceived?
The state and every society for the millennia, Your Honor, has attempted to channel naturally procreative sexual conduct between men and women into an enduring, stable union for the sake
Let's move on from the millennia to the 3 weeks in January when we had the trial. What does the evidence show?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I believe the evidence shows overwhelmingly that this interest in what many call, and the United States Congress calls, responsible procreation is really at the heart of society's interest in regulating marriage.
Okay.
Because, for example, what the evidence shows is that
what was the witness who offered the testimony? What was it, and so forth?
Yes, Your Honor. Sociologist Kingsley Davis has described the universal societal interest in marriage as recognition and approval of a couple engaging in sexual intercourse and marrying and rearing offspring. Blackstone, Your Honor, said that there are two great relations in private life. First, that of husband and wife.
I don't mean to be flip, but Blackstone didn't testify. Kingsley Davis didn't testify. What testimony, in this case, supports the proposition?
But, Your Honor, you don't have to have evidence for this from these authorities. This is in the cases themselves.